Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Young Muslim Readers. Today we want to read the story of Musa and the Pharaoh based on the Quranic facts. The story of Musa and the Pharaoh based on the Quranic facts by Dr. Shamim Nihat. The house of Prophet Yaqub والسلام, and Bani Israel, the children of Israel, are settled in Egypt, where Prophet Yusuf والسلام, ruled for many years. Musa والسلام, was born in Egypt for 450 years after Yusuf. In the meantime, the Bani Israel had neglected the teachings of the Prophet Yaqub and Yusuf. Around the time of the birth of Musa, the Pharaoh ruled Egypt. He looked upon Bani Israel as foreigners and treated them harshly. He thought that he was a god, and his people prostrated before him. Pharaoh treated Bani Israel as slaves, who were made to toil all day under the blazing sun. They were given nothing but merely a day's meal. One night, Pharaoh saw a dream that a fire had broken out in Syria and burnt all palaces, houses, cities, and villages. He shuddered with fear. He asked his astrologers to interpret the dream. They told the king that a baby born will be born to Bani Israel, who would in his manhood drive him out of his land. Pharaoh got wild with rage. He ordered that every male child born to Israelites be killed. Thus, thousands of newborn babies were put to death. A baby boy was born to Bani Israel to lead them into the light from darkness. This boy was Musa bin Imran. His mother managed to hide the baby for 3 months. She was inspired by Allah to put Musa into a basket and leave it into the river. The boy was found by a lady of the house of Pharaoh. Musa was adopted by Pharaoh's wife, Ashia. Allah made him to do so. Nurses were called, but in vain. A woman was appointed to suckle the baby. This woman was none other than Musa's mother. Musa grew up in Pharaoh's house. Musa felt sad at the harsh treatment meted out to Bani Israel. He loved to help the poor and the downtrodden. One fateful day, Musa came across an Egyptian who was beating an Israelite slave. Musa gave the Egyptian a blow and killed him accidentally. He prayed to Allah and obtained his pardon. Pharaoh's soldiers were looking for the murderer of the Egyptian. Musa therefore quietly left the city and took refuge in the jungle, living on leaves of trees for 7 days. Crossing the great Sinai desert, Musa reached the well of Madian, where he married Shuaib's daughter. He stayed there for 10 years and thereafter moved on to Tuwa, a valley at the foot of the mountain Atur in Sinai. Here, Musa was blessed with divine guidance by Allah and was selected as a messenger of Allah. Allah blessed Musa with 2 signs. 1. The staff of Musa, which when thrown down, would turn into a serpent, and also the ability to make his hand shine after it was drawn out from under his arm. Allah commanded Musa to return to Pharaoh and invite him to Tawhid, oneness of God. Musa and Aaron went to the court of Pharaoh and told him that Almighty Allah had chosen Musa to save the Israelites from the oppression of the Egyptians. Pharaoh made fun of Musa and refused to let the Israelites go. Musa showed his signs to impress the Pharaoh. He threw a stake on the ground and it changed into a serpent. Pharaoh and his courtiers dismissed this as a magician's trick. Pharaoh challenged Musa to face his own magicians, who could show even more stunning magic. But on the appointed day, the magicians of Pharaoh were badly defeated. The serpent of Musa's staff swallowed up all the snakes. Pharaoh and his courtiers could hardly believe their eyes, but Pharaoh remained unmoved. It was during this time that Allah commanded Musa to leave Egypt with his followers. Musa and his followers escaped at night and reached the shore of the Nile. But soon the army of Pharaoh caught up with them. In front of Musa was the mighty Nile, and behind him were the soldiers of Pharaoh. At this moment, by Allah's order, Hazrat Jibril revealed to Musa to throw his staff into the water. As Musa threw his staff, the Nile opened a path in its middle. The Israelites reached the other shore by crossing it, but the pursuing Pharaoh was in the middle of the Nile when its water drowned the path and also the Egyptian soldiers and the Pharaoh. After crossing the sea, Musa and the Bani Israel marched towards Mount Sinai. Allah provided them with food and drink and shade of clouds that followed them everywhere. Finally, the Bani Israel reached the foot of the Mount Sinai. While the people waited in the camps, Musa went up the mountain and stayed there for 40 nights. Allah granted him commandments and the law to be obeyed by his people. It was in truth an agreement between Allah and Bani Israel. In the absence of Musa, the Bani Israel got impatient waiting for him. They made a calf out of melted gold and began to worship it. When Musa returned and saw what his people had done, he became furious with anger. He seized his brother Harun by the hair of his head, dragged him and asked him why did he not stop his people from acting so sinfully. When Musa's anger calmed down, he, along with 70 men, went up the mountain to seek forgiveness of Allah. Because of Musa's prayer, Allah forgave Bani Israel. End. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.